Alright, so we're looking at our 1.5 foldable, I guess it doesn't really fold, but graphic organizer. So it's about solving literal equations and common formulas. Okay, so the biggest key I've got for you here, this is important, is always highlight the variable that you are solving for. I promise you, this is a trick that will make your life significantly easier. So, on example 1, it says solve for y, so in the equation, I'm highlighting the y. All right, so if the variable only appears once, isolate the variable. That's like example 1. So let me just switch my color here real quick. All right, so this one, example 1, notice the variable only occurs once. So if you want to isolate the y, first you need to get rid of the 3x. Remember, you're going to work with your order of operations backwards. So you're going to add or subtract first. So I'm going to subtract the 3x because it's a positive. And what I do to one side of the equal sign, I must do to the other. So that gives me 2y equals 10 minus 3x. All right, so now I'm going to highlight that y again. Still trying to get that y by itself. So now what we're going to do, we have 2 times y, so we're going to need to divide by 2. And so we divide by 2 on both sides, so we have y equals, now on the right side, you divide it all by 2, so one big divide by 2. So it's y equals 10 minus 3x, all divided by 2. All right, let's check out example 2. So it says solve for x, so highlight any x's you see. Just the x's. So if you notice, I highlighted 2 different x's. So that is going to be, like example 2, it says, if the variable appears more than once, undistribute. So undistribute is just undoing the distributive property. So think about this. Take the x back out in front of a set of parentheses. Keep the equals 10 over there. It's just kind of hanging out. So now if you took the x out, if you undistributed it, what you'd have left is 3 plus 2y. Notice it's the stuff that was not highlighted. Okay, that's what you've left. So now you double check yourself in your head. And you're just like, hey, if I distributed that x back in, would it still be the original what I had right here? So let's just do a quick check. Don't write on yours. I'm going to write, but then I'll erase mine, okay? So x times 3x, or I'm sorry, x times 3 would be 3x, and x times 2y would be 2xy. So we definitely undistributed correctly. Remember, undistribute is just undoing the distributive property. Okay, let's highlight our x. Remember, that's what we're solving for, so let's give it a highlight. So now you want x by itself. Now what it's doing is it's multiplying times this whole parentheses right here. It's x times all that. So if we want to get rid of the parentheses, 3 plus 2y, then the inverse of multiplying is dividing. And remember, what we do to one side of the equal sign, we must do to the other. So when we divide, we're left with x equals 10 divided by 3 plus 2y. Now, the parentheses, I probably wouldn't put on it. The reason for that is because when you go type it into your online homework, it doesn't really count you accurately. It doesn't bother me when it's written, but just get in a good habit so you're not struggling when you do your online homework. I think it's good just to kind of write it as we will have to when we do it online. So that's going to be our answer. All right, we'll be working on this more. We'll be using this with our notes. Also notice at the bottom of the page is common formulas. These are just really useful to have. It's just one of those things where you're like, hey, if I am going to put it in, to Celsius from Fahrenheit, if I have a problem asking me to do that, I have the formula. If they're asking me how much interest do I make, I have that formula. If they're saying how far does a runner go after a certain amount of time, I have that formula. So, I am on page 10 of my interactive student notebook. That's where I glued this on. That's where you should be. And don't forget to put the title back on the table of contents. Thanks, guys.